Okay, I'm Natalia Taffarel and I'm from Argentina. I'm a retoucher. I mainly do beauty and also fashion products, and lately I've been doing a lot of portraits. I've been retouching for the last 5 years, 6 years actually. And it started out just as a coincidence because I studied graphic design and I studied advertising, but I never thought about retouching as a career or as a job. So I started playing around with Photoshop and I loved it, and I entered a few contests in the, I don't know if you know it, the website Worth 1,000. They do a lot of manipulations and they give you a theme and it's really fun. So I was pregnant at the time with I have a 6-year-old boy, and I didn't have anything to do. I have a very, very overprotective family, so they wouldn't let me out of the house. If it was too cold, I couldn't go out. If it was too hot, I couldn't go out. So basically, I spent my days sitting in the house, playing with Photoshop and doing images for contests. And I started winning, and I remember the father of my child once said, "You won." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm happy about that." And he's like, "But how many people enter those contests?" And I don't know, 50, 100? And they are from all over the world. "Yeah, and you won." "Yes, it's just an internet contest, it's not a big deal." And he's like, "Yeah, but why don't you do this for a living?" And before that moment, I never thought about it, but it was like, okay, maybe I'm good at this. And I created a few galleries online, and I contacted a few photographers, and they actually wrote me back saying they loved my work and they would love to work with me. And that's how it started. My portfolio kept growing and growing. I never actually had a website. If you go to my website now, it's going to be under construction, and it has been for the last 4 years. But people talk, which is a very good thing and a very bad thing in this business. You can only get things wrong once, but if you do it right, then people talk and they refer you to other people. So that and a lot of time in the forums and in the communities brought me here. Well, when I first started, I saw a little bit of Photoshop when I was studying advertising. There was a subject called Design 1, and in Design 1 we saw a little bit about Photoshop, then we saw a little bit about After Effects, then we saw a little of Premiere, all the Adobe softwares. And I actually liked Photoshop, and I was quick on it. I mean, I'm a very fast learner. I always say there's no such thing as talent, but people with a good memory can learn things a lot faster than people with no memory. And I have a very good memory. So if you show me something, or if you mention something, I'm gonna remember it. So basically, I had the basis in that class, and then I wanted to do something, or maybe a client would tell me, "Okay, I need you to do this," and I said, "Yeah, I know how to do that." And then I went online and I googled, "I need to do this," and basically I got to different communities and people who actually knew what they were talking about exactly what I was looking for. So I experimented a lot of practice, and it kept growing and growing, and every time I wanted to know more. Every time someone asked a question, even if I didn't want to know, if someone asked a question that I didn't know, I went and researched and tried for myself until I knew how to do it, and like that with everything. I got my first email from the website from Charlotte Kibbles. She's still a client of mine. With her I've done Dove, a lot of product and hair images, and also we did inspirational video for Unilever that you can find on the internet about how to create the perfect hair image and how important all the members of the team are. and I did like a major manipulation with one image. It didn't have a lot of hair and other hair blowing everywhere. And I still work for her sometimes. And then she recommended me to another photographer, Catherine Harbour. I still work with her sometimes. She does a lot of fashion. I did Esquire for her and some L'Oreal images, advertising and catalog, hair and makeup. And she's a great fashion photographer, and I also got to her through that site. And at the same time, she recommended me to another photographer, Mark Hunt. He's a great fashion photographer, and I worked with him for like 2 years, and it's just a lot of emails going back and forward. And now I remember when I was just starting, I emailed this photographer, Sean Wright, because I like his portfolio. But he didn't email me back until like 2 years later. So when he emails me back, I was already established and working. So when he emailed me back, I went and looked at his portfolio and I didn't like it. So a year goes by and he sends me another email saying, I still want to work with you, take a look at my new portfolio. And so I go in and I see he's like a lot better than a year before, and he does celebrity portraits and music and lifestyle and TV shows. So I was like, okay, maybe I want to work with him. So I started working with him, and he's like my best client. He's a very talented man, and with him I do a lot of celebrity work and covers and a fabulous magazine, and we did the cover for the big issue with Fatboy Slim turned into a cyber, a robot. And he's the one that keeps me entertained because he always has this really interesting concept that he wants to try, and we do things very different. But basically, it's I remember that when I was starting, I sent out a lot of emails, and I didn't even have a website, and I don't think it matters if you do have a website, because as long as you have like 5 strong before and afters, where people can see that you actually know what you're doing, because retouchers, if you leave a stone, you can find a retoucher. It's the same with photographers. But good retouchers that actually know what they're doing, they're not so much. And if you keep your prices affordable, that doesn't mean you need to charge $20 an image, but just that you have a fair price for what you deliver, and you're gonna get hired. It's just a matter of time. Out of 100 emails that you send out, maybe you get one answer. But that one answer is going to be a long-term client. So that's what I did. And basically my main philosophy in life is being honest. So I always work with based on trust. So I don't ask for money in advance. I always send them the image. If they don't like it, I can fix it until you're happy with the image. I'm happy with the image when the client's happy with the image. And I always put more hours of work than I'm getting paid for. It's like, because for me, it's really not about the money. It's about creating an image that we are happy with. So if the photographer says, okay, so I need you to remove that more, and I actually think that more is actually good for the picture, then I'm going to say, no, I can make the rest of the skin perfect, but I'm keeping that more. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to give them my alternatives, maybe making them all smaller. But I can argue with the client for like 3 hours as long as we both get to a middle point where we're both happy with the image. And so that's what it's like for me. For me, it's about the image. It's not about the money. It's not about the work. It's not about the hours. It's about the final image, and that everyone is happy with it. Well, I learned everything I know from the internet. I never had any Photoshop books, I never watched any Photoshop tutorials, any videos, nothing. Everything I know is from the internet, people who talk about things and people who offer answers. But when I was starting out, there was no one talking about real techniques. So you would see a lot about crappy techniques like blurring and adding fake skin afterwards. But I only heard about dodging and burning after like 3 years of retouching. So it's like, why no one is talking about this? This is the real thing. This is what is going to make an image wonderful. Dodging and burning, learning how to work with light. And I remember that when I found out that there was actually different ways of doing things, but people weren't talking about them, I started talking about them. And I found other people that were also willing to share. And I remember that when I started talking about it, my first video in YouTube, I have a section on dodging and burning. And because of that video, I have a lot of emails from retouchers from New York and London saying, you can't say those things, you can't teach those things, you're creating competition. And I thought, oh my God, this is a horrible, horrible industry. So I'm very easily distracted. So whenever I'm working, I need to have something on the side that I'm also doing. And forums are a very good way of not obsessing with work. So I always find someone to talk to, I always find an interesting argument. There's also drama. I mean, forums are always fun because people are fighting all the time. There's very fun joke, a graphic joke. So you see a guy in the computer and the wife is calling him, honey, come to bed. I can't, someone is wrong in the internet. And it's very, very much like that in the forums. It's like everyone's right and no one allows a second opinion, and arguments that are always there in different forums is Canon versus Nikon and RAW versus JPEG and color versus black and white, and there's always the same arguments and always the same people with the same points of view, but it's always fun and it's a way to stay in the latest techniques, because people they might not be great retouchers, but they know a lot about Photoshop. So they say, okay, so I found out how to do this, and they come up with a really like revolutionary thing, but they don't see it. They don't see how they could use it. Okay. So, and I can get that base and turn it into an actually working technique, and it's very interesting that sometimes there's things that I completely miss, or the other way around. Maybe I find something that works, but I don't know why it works. So in the forums, usually forums are filled with people technical inclined. So I can go and ask them, so I found this and it works, but I don't know why, and they give me all the math behind it that makes it work, all the logic behind it that makes it work, and that makes me better as a professional, because I not only know how to do it, but also why it works and what else I can do with it. And so basically, yeah, I feed on forums. I also feed on criticisms, so forums are very good for that because it's filled with strangers, people who don't know who you are. So you post an image and say, okay, what do you think of this? And they don't care that you're Calvin Hollywood, they don't care that you're Natalia Taffarel, they only care about the image and how good it is. So they criticize it, and they always find flaws, and they always find things that I didn't see. And so I feed on forums, I feed on new techniques, and I feed on criticism every single day, and forums and communities are great for that. When I made that video for YouTube, I didn't even save the original. I compressed it really tiny, I uploaded it to YouTube, and I used to work in a really old PC, so basically a 16 gigabyte file of video was too heavy to keep it, so I threw it out. And every day I would get an email saying, you know what, I would love to have the original video or the high resolution video. And I would say, I'm sorry, I didn't keep it. I mean, I never thought someone would actually be interested in the video. So not only people asking for it, but people asking to buy it, or asking asking me to upload it so they could pay me and download it, and I was like, I mean, I didn't even know there was a business for this, because as I told you, when I learned, I never used any videos. So people started asking me, why don't you do a DVD? And I started looking into it. But at the time, this was like 3 years ago, I didn't have the money that you need to produce a DVD. So I started asking to editors and looking into the software that you need, and it was like $6,000 investment just for the editing and the producing and the packaging, and I was like, I don't have $6,000 to invest. So I let the idea aside. So every day people ask me, so why didn't you have your own DVD? I mean, your work is great, I want to know how you do it. So I basically added everyone on Skype, and I showed them how to do it on Skype. And everyone who knows me knows that I have no issues with sharing, and basically that's why I hang out in the forum so much. So finally, last year, Vitaly Retoucher, he calls me on the phone. No one ever calls me on the phone. And I remember I was taking out the clothing from my washing machine. I was hanging it in the roof like a everyday common day. And he says, hello, and hello. I'm not usually speaking English when I get the phone. And he's like, yeah, my name is Natalia Taffarel. I have a retouching company. And I'm like, yeah, the name rings a bell. I mean, I know this name. And he's like, I'm tired of retouching. I don't want to retouch anymore. I saw your work, and I would like you to do all my retouching for my clients. Well, yeah, sure. Why don't you send me an email and we discuss it? I mean, the phone is kind of expensive for you. Where are you calling from? No, I'm calling from the States. Oh, yeah, this is going to be a really expensive call. Yeah, well, I don't mind because my internet is really slow. And okay, cool. So I can't give you any rates because I don't have fixed rates. I need to see the image. I need to know what kind of job it is. And he's like, yeah, don't worry about rates. We will see like on a image per image basis. So I was like, yeah, cool, don't worry. You have my email? Yeah, I have your email. I'll get in touch with you again. Okay, cool. So I went online. I googled him, and I was like, oh my God, this is the guy of the DVD. I remember people criticizing the DVD a lot, Vitaly's DVD, because he doesn't show anything and he's fast forwarding all the information. And I hadn't seen the DVD, but I remember commenting in the forums that even though I hadn't seen the DVD, I wouldn't buy it because his before and afters are not really impressive. So I thought, oh my God, I hope you didn't read that. So he called me again a week later, and he says, okay, so I have another proposition for you. And I'm like, yeah, about retouching. And he's like, no, I was looking for you in the forums, and I saw someone asking you, why don't you have your own DVD? And you said that you didn't have $6,000 to make it. And yeah, that's right. People ask me to do a DVD, but I can't really afford it. And he said, well, I can. So what do you think if you make a DVD for me? And I'm like, but I don't get it. If I'm talking and after I'm doing the retouching, it can be yours. I'm a girl, so my voice can't be Vitaly's voice. And he's like, no, but I want the DVD to have your name because people want your DVD, not my DVD. Okay, so what do you get out of it? Money. What do I get out of it? Money. Oh, okay. So what do you have to do? Nothing. You record yourself retouching an image from beginning to end, and that's about it. Then I edit it and I sell it. Oh, okay. So I thought, I have to do what I do every day and record myself, and I don't take any chances, and I get my DVD and people get the DVD because now there is a few other DVDs, but back then, last year, there wasn't any beauty retouching DVDs, like high-end, with touching and burning, with the real techniques that a professional use. So we started working on it, and well, it was very funny because I've never done this before. So I'm a let's say, not very steady person. So when I was recording the video, I was like, okay, so now we're gonna do this and this and this, and I sent the first video to Vitaly, and he was like, no, you need to talk in a neutral voice. So now every time I watch my own DVD, I find it really boring, because I'm like, and now we're gonna open the image and we're gonna do this and that, and I'm always talking in the same tone of voice for 11 and a half hours. And like flaws like that I had a lot, because he kept sending the videos back saying, no, you need to redo this, redo that. And I remember he telling me, why don't you take a look at my DVD? And I didn't want to, because I wanted this DVD to be completely mine, and I didn't want any kind of influence from other videos. So basically I did my thing. When you see my DVD, you get a lot of my personality shining through it, for better or for worse. And what I wanted with that DVD was to give people something that, not for them to copy exactly, not for them to follow like step by step, but so they could see exactly what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it in that way and not another way. And I try to make everything absolutely clear, like if I use this tool and not this tool, why? What am I thinking when I use that tool? And what am I thinking when I retouch that color or that mole or that wrinkle? And I wanted them to get like a peek inside my head, everyone, because if you're a great retoucher, then you get to see how someone else's works, and if you're a beginner, then you get to see how a professional works. And the time it takes, I really wanted people to know the time it takes to get a perfect image, like image that doesn't look retouched. When you look at a high-end beauty image, you look at it and you can't tell it's been retouched. And that was the point of the DVD, to show people how to do it, why, and how long it takes. Well, I think that what makes me a good retoucher is not what I do in Photoshop. It's about having an eye. So my advice to someone who wants to get not only into retouching but into any visual art is to build an eye. So go to galleries, buy fashion magazines, feed on painters and sculptures and black and white old analog photographers, and follow people, not people who do like crap commercial images. Follow people who do art, and notice how they work with color, how they work with lights, how they can get you to focus your attention exactly where they want your attention to be, and what is good and bad, and how to get there. And like, buy photography books, go to museums, go to galleries, go to people who are just starting, go to like unusual artists, like alternative medias, and watch a lot of videos and movies. There's a lot of visual arts in movies, and styles and colors and lights. And so don't just focus on step-by-step tutorials in Photoshop, because that's gonna get you nowhere. So if you know nothing about Photoshop, go to like a university and do a Photoshop class, so you can learn all the basics, because if you don't know the basics, then you can't get anywhere, even if you're trained by the greatest Photoshop teacher ever. Because if you come to one of my workshops and you don't know anything about Photoshop, I'm not going to explain to you how to open a new file, what blending modes are, how to work with an adjustment layer. You need to know these things, the basic things. And once you know the basic things, when people talk about concepts, using curves to alter luminosity and color at the same time, since you already know how a curve works, you understand that, and you can really get a lot of techniques and why they work. So basically, building an eye, getting to the base of Photoshop, and then practice a lot. Like, I know a lot of retouchers that started like 6 months ago, and they go, yeah, I'm not going to work on this image if I'm not getting paid this or this. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, if you want to get somewhere, you need to work in every beautiful image that you find. Don't work on crappy image for money. Work on good images for free, because that's going to make you a great artist. If you learn to fix images, then you'll never be good, because when you get a good image, you don't know what to do with it. So you need to work with good originals. I always say crop in, crop out. If you learn how to work with a really good image, then you know how to make that image wonderful. Because one thing is to make a lousy image good, and another thing is to make a great image amazing. And that's the beauty of high-end retoucher, because people who get published in magazines are not crappy photographers. Retouching is not about fixing. We are the ones that get the vision of the photographer into the final image, but it's just the final step. It's not fixing the picture. So don't learn how to smooth out skin, don't learn how to change the color of the eyes, don't learn how to apply fake makeup, because you're not going to use that in the real business. What you're going to use in the real business is how to work with light, how to make all the elements of the image perfect, how to focus on different things in different kind of photography. So if you want to be a retoucher, then practice a lot, build an eye, learn the good from the bad, because if you can't distinguish a good photographer from a bad photographer, then you'll never be a good retoucher, not a really good retoucher, because you need to have a taste of your own, you need to have an opinion, otherwise you're just a part of a machine. And if you're a part of a machine, you can be replaced. If you have an opinion on your own, if you put something of yourself in your images, then you are a retoucher. Otherwise, you're just a tool, a plug-in, something that gets the job done. And other than that, practice every day, every minute. I always say, if you have a talent, you're not a good retoucher, because you should be spending all your days in front of the computer working. There's a study that says that if you work for 10,000 hours on something, you become an expert. And I truly believe in that. You don't need any kind of special fit. No. You need to put the time into it. If you put the time into it, into learning the good things, then you become an expert. And the rest is just taste. It's just your personality. It's just the way you do things. When I teach people how to use Photoshop, I try not only to teach them how to use Photoshop, because I always say a trained monkey can do what I do in Photoshop. I don't do magic in Photoshop. I know my tools, but the most important thing, and what I think talent is the ability to get the information in, the inspiration in, and make that into something that's going to work in another thing. So this works not only in retouching, but in photography, in music. So you see the table, the orange table and the black chair, or the black chair, and you see it works, but you don't realize that you're looking at a color contrast that works, but your mind does. So later when you're working, you're able to use that in your own images, that kind of contrast, the same contrast. You know that when the light goes, the attention goes. From black and white photography, you learn that where the light goes, the attention goes. So you learn how to work that into color images. So it's not about learning and copying, it's about learning, not realizing that you're learning, and then applying it in a different way and creating your own images. So that's talent, being smart enough to use information. So my advice is to suck as much information as you can. Practice every single day, every single moment. Don't forget that this is still an art, so you need inspiration, you need to watch a lot of movies, you need to go to, if you're an ignorant person who's never been in a museum, who's never seen a photography book, who's never seen, you won't make great images, because you need to have that cultural context that's going to help you to actually know what looks good and what doesn't look good. So yeah, fit in, practice, and get criticized a lot. Forget the people who praise you, because everyone gets praise, and concentrate on the ones who don't. Because if someone takes the time to write a critique to one of your works, it means that they saw potential. If they didn't, they wouldn't write anything. If someone takes the time to write something bad, because the world is filled with people who say, yeah, that looks great, and it doesn't. So if someone takes the time to actually say, that sucks, you ask them why it sucks, I want to be better. But if you don't learn to deal with criticism in a constructive way, then you'll never amount to anything. And that doesn't go just for retouching. Well, I'm a very, very simple person. So thinking about the future and concentrating on big goals is not really the way I work. I am a short-term person with really simple goals. So my next goal is to get home and see my child that I miss very, very much. And of course I thought about creating an agency, and I don't want a retouching agency. I would like to create a representer house for retouchers. Because I hate how agencies work. They turn you into a machine. They make you work in a part of the image, someone else gets to work on the other part of the image, and you lose, in that process, you lose all the art in the final image. So I want retouchers to be able to keep their names. So I want a house that represents retouchers, so you can say, okay, he's great at manipulation, he's great at fashion, he's great at editorial, he's great at beauty, he's great in commercial beauty, this is, okay. So you have all these sides of retouching that someone can be perfect at. So recommend retouchers, but not lose the name. So everyone gets a credit. That's another goal, to get the credit for the retoucher. But because the retoucher is, like I say, if people stop thinking that the retoucher is the one that changes the image and start thinking about the retoucher like the makeup artist or like the model or like the photographer, is just another member of the team. So that would be another goal, to get the retoucher credited. I've worked for free a lot of times just to get my name in somewhere, because I think that's more important than a lot of other things. So future, I would love to do that, but to do that I would have to relocate, and I don't know if I'm really able to live somewhere else other than Buenos Aires. I mean, I love my city. I've been in a lot of cities in the world, but I don't like any city like I like my city. And I have a child, so I'm first a mother, then a retoucher. So I might help. Like you said, I became very popular in the last year, and I plan on getting more and more popular. So I might use my name and get a partner to do an agency somewhere else. I might use my name and get a partner maybe in London or the US to create an agency. But for now, this is something like really long term. For now, I'm still trying to find the perfect image, and I'm still trying to get better myself. I keep trying to improve my skills. I don't think I know it all. I don't think I know how to do everything. So I still need to know how to do everything. And I always say that one should work for a living and not live for your work. So I'm very lucky that I turned my hobby into something that pays the rent, and I can afford to work very little hours and spend more time with my family and friends. So I used to be a workaholic. I'm still a workaholic if I compare myself with the rest of the people, but now I can relax a little bit more, and yeah, I might try to get that agency going with someone else. But for now, I'm working on this site. It's basically a sharing site. It's like a private community with only professionals, and it's not out there. yet, and I don't know if someone's gonna know that that site is mine. But the idea is to get a lot of professionals to tell the success stories, because for me it's very important that people know that they can do it, and I don't ever want to hear, no, I can't do it because I'm from Croatia, or I can't do it because I'm a single mother, or I can't do it because I'm old. Because, well, Sean Wright is a great example. He's 42 now, and he started 4 years ago, and he's shooting every celebrity in London. And I'm another great example. I'm a 28 years old single mother from South America. So if I could do it, anyone can. And that's what I want. I want success stories that show people that if you put your mind into it, you can actually accomplish something. So that would be my goal. A site that can show you not only that you can do it, but also how to do it. So a site with tutorials, workshops, and so a place to share.